Sometimes you bring in artillery, try to box, but then your opponent surprises you with additional artillery, overwhelming you in firepower. For example, my opponent here is bringing 2 little groms outgunning my 1 single grand cannon. I've seen newer players choosing to hold their ground with their artillery, trying to expand as much ammo as possible, but that is not exactly the best option here. Instead, you should take the fight to your opponent. While you might lose out on the artillery fight, with so much investment onto the artillery department, that means your opponent is usually less equipped in other supporting units. For example, the armored cuirassiers and the mobility, they would be thinner in numbers due to less funds available for them. In contrast, I have way more funds on my infantry. 4 whole units of Jade Warriors with crossbows, plus a whole front line of Jade Warriors should be able to overwhelm our opponent's meager armored cuirassiers. While I cannot win the artillery trade, the little groms shooting at the grand cannons means that they are not shooting at my Jade Warrior crossbows, who can now shoot at the armored cuirassier front line of my opponent unimpeded. At the same time, while the grand cannon isn't doing that much damage and is getting obliterated by the little groms, it is acting as a distraction to my opponent's attention. You can see it's acting kind of like a bait, drawing away enemy resources while I push on my army to pressure enemy lines. Basically, if you're outgunned by your opponent, there is no point holding position and trying to trade firepower. Instead, you have to pick your fights, choosing engagements that you have advantage over your opponent. When your opponent has the bigger guns, sometimes it is better just to abandon the fight and completely switch up your strategy. Just like here where I abandoned the artillery boxing strat and advanced my army instead.